Obligatory disclaimer. Finally, Socrates knows more than one thing. I am. Everything is here. Everything is here and now. So good job, Socrates. Remember that we want to maintain a open and receptive state going into these. There will be some things introduced today that go against typical knowledge, typical thinking in the world today. Some updates for people not in the WhatsApp group. You can go ahead and pause here if you're on the YouTube video. And then we have some time for any progress recognitions from the chat. Anybody come across anything, some progress, some experiences, some insights? You can share that here now if you feel like doing so. All right, remember that just by being here, you are helping yourself. Your future self will thank you. All right, for recap, we have an understanding of what we are not from the first session. We've got an understanding that we can use permission slips to help us, an awareness of the ways negativity slips into our lives, an understanding of some positives that we can implement. Last time we went over presence and now. Everything is the here and now. And today we'll add a little bit more about the here and all that is. But first, opening grounding meditation. Going into this meditation, allow yourself to visualize a space that feels safe and relaxing. And everybody, allow yourself to gently close your eyes or view the image on the screen. And if you feel comfortable, place your hands over your heart or rest them on your legs, palms down. Let's go ahead and take a slow, deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. Let your breaths fall into a steady rhythm. And allow yourself to fully arrive in this moment, right here and right now. There's nothing to do, no one to be, just yourself, just you breathing. I want you to bring yourself, your awareness to your feet. Feel them in contact with the ground beneath you. Imagine roots gently growing from your feet into the earth. Soft, steady, warm, supportive. Feel the support of the ground beneath you, always there, always holding you. Allow your breath to drop a little deeper into the belly. Soften your muscles, relax your shoulders. Let each breath remind you, I am safe, I am here, I am connected. As you breathe, feel into the space around you, not just inside your body, but just beyond it. Imagine your breath moving through you and around you like gentle ripples in a still pond. Now, in your mind's eye, see those ripples connecting with others in this space. Those beside you, those across from you, in the same room as you, in the same building as you. Each person is a part of the same wave. You are not alone. You are never alone. Each breath you take is shared with the trees, the oceans, and all living things. Feel how we all rise and fall with the same breath. We are part of something greater, a living web, a shared field of life. And bring one hand to your heart and let this be your anchor. Inhale gently and exhale fully. And silently repeat to yourself, I am here. I am held. I am part of all that is. When you're ready, go ahead and bring yourself back and try to keep this grounded presence going forward into this presentation. So last time we covered more of the now, so moving into a little bit more of the here. We understand that the here and now is our second law that's been introduced. So reality is only ever happening in the present location of awareness. From a higher perspective, existence is a single point. Separation is an illusion. So literally, everything is here, existing in the same space as you. How do we know this? When asked where you are, you say something related to here, not there. It seems silly, but it's a part of the knowing. You're never there, you're always here. Science is soon going to be faced with this reality, forced to understand this as a underlying law of the universe, because currently space is a place of separation. There's distance between everything in current science. But we're seeing that in things such as quantum entanglement, that if you don't know what quantum entanglement means, it's when two particles or other objects lock in step and share the same state. And when they're moved far enough apart, you can tell that they're seeming to violate the speed of light. But what's going on is that they're sharing states which exist outside of space-time. And so time doesn't affect them in the same manner, and distance then doesn't affect them in the same manner. Um, I believe Einstein said this was spooky action at a distance, where changes in one affected the other instantly. So as we create our reality, your experience is a mirror or reflection of your current state of consciousness. This doesn't mean that what you see is a one-to-one of yourself, but what you see is integrally related to you. In the framing last time I shared that time is an illusion created by ourselves. In the same sense, space is an illusion created by ourselves. Every moment in reality already exists in the field. So we're jumping through those parallel realities, creating that illusion of time and space and motion, jumping through those ones that are relevant to our experience. The mechanism below that is that our soul changes its focus through those many years, creating the illusion of motion and time. This also means that all realities exist now and are available to you if you manage to direct your focus. In fact, you're pulling from many different realities at any given time to help you in your own existence. This is mostly done without your conscious awareness, but other people will call this feeling or achieving knowing from their quote unquote past lives, even though as personalities, this is our only life. There's no true past or future if everything's here and now. Those are happening at the same time, and you're able to pull information from those other experiences that's relevant for you to help you in your progression through this life, through this reality. So we don't connect to any past lives, we connect to other realities. We don't have past lives, we are our personality. What we do is connect to people who may have been in the past or may have are in the future, which is all happening here and now. This also means that you don't really need to chase a reality. That's ego. From a higher perspective, you are powerful and infinite beings. So what you do is attract a reality by matching the frequency. Next, we'll be going into interconnectedness and all that is. We want to start to visualize connections in our lives, and one way to do that is to see things like mycelium networks or neural connections and let them illustrate how deeply intertwined all beings and experiences are within creation. So visualization can enhance our awareness of these bonds. We can see that there's similarity in structures and repetition of certain ratios, like the golden ratio, that highlight a commonality between all things, big and small, far and near. So small, we see the formation and structural relations between brain cells. And when we zoom out and view the grid of galaxies in the universe, in our observable known universe, we see that they sort of share the same type of structures. Some more immediate things you can witness, connections in nature, is to know that things are more interconnected than we have historically recognized. For example, trees communicate with each other through their roots and mycelium. They share information, they share nutrients, they share water between each other. They play roles in the cycles of the earth, such as taking in CO2 and putting out oxygen, taking in water, releasing it back into the atmosphere, and sheltering and rooting soil in place, protecting animals, and many other things that demonstrate their connections to everything else around them. We can view your impact of relationships. Those that we nurture have profound implications on our shared existence. Each interaction contributes to the collective energy and harmony of the world around us. Even just small actions of kindness can ripple out and do great things for the collective. Next, we'll start to introduce the unified field concept. And we can recognize that everything in existence is interconnected, forming a vast web. This helps us to understand how our actions resonate within the universe. Nothing exists in isolation, and everything is interdependent. Everything has a role. Everything fits in the universe like a puzzle piece. So now go ahead and introduce the concept of all that is. So all that is represents the totality of existence, encompassing everything from the vast universe to the smallest particle to the higher realms and dimensions. It is the essence of existence itself, a boundless field of potential and presence that connects us all. It is not a God out there. It is the animating intelligence within everything. And here we'll introduce law 3. All is the one and the one is all. Interconnectedness goes even deeper when we understand that everything is formed within all that is as a part of the whole. All that is, in order to experience self-awareness, created not itself, as one must, by definition, have an experience of an other to have an experience of self-awareness. You must know something other than yourself to know yourself. Thus, realms, dimensions, beings, realities, etc., were brought into existence within all that is. The underlying mechanism that holds up all of existence is consciousness. So all that is created through consciousness, and thus we exist as consciousness. And consciousness creates all of existence. Science is beginning to run into this fact in their quantum exploration. They're recognizing that quantum fields are guided by certain principles, and they seem to be completely random, but they'll eventually find that consciousness is the underlying factor beneath it all. We have the saying, as above, so below, that all that is creation is fractal-like in nature. This is what made in the image of God refers to, in that they're at every level, whatever exists reflects the fractal nature of the higher and the lower. Every level of existence reflects all that is. Another name for all that is source. 5 a.m. I'll be using those interchangeably. A source expresses through everything from galaxies to hearts. The I am is not just a personal identity, but a recognition of your divine inheritance. So all that is expresses through you as you, and your experience is created for you. Consciousness itself is a shared field. Your mind is not isolated. So we may be creating the experience of separation of just the self when down here in the 3D reality, but it's mostly our programming that prevents us from recognizing other consciousness that we come in contact with at the soul level. And developing our personal connection with our higher self will increase connection with others as well. Your thoughts, emotions, and intuitions, and even dreams arise from and return to the shared space of the collective mind of all that is. When we dream, we go back to the astral and 5D planes every night. That's why sleep is one of our 7 needs. In a sense, we sort of recharge our ability to manifest, and why people lose their minds when they don't get enough sleep after 7 through 11 days, and will eventually die if they don't get that sleep because they become too separated from their reconnecting, recharging in the consciousness. So think of it as diving. When you dive, you have a tank full of air. That's sort of a metaphor for your consciousness and how fulfilled you are. And being awake is the dive in 3D reality. So basically, your tank has 7 to 11 days of quote unquote air. And without that, if you're going farther than that, you most likely won't survive. So you need to come back for air, recharge by sleeping. Next, when we speak of the collective unconscious, or the quantum field, we're describing the connective tissue of all that is. The collective unconscious itself is a field of consciousness that affects the reality generation of all those involved. Since we're all creating our own realities, there needs to be a consensus reality that we're all sharing that keeps us relatively in line with each other's experience to create a believable experience. Right? If everybody was experiencing something completely different, then it'd be hard to navigate just general life in general. Like buildings would be in different places. You could be walking with a friend and then run into a building while you're still fine on your path. There's no building there. So the collective consciousness keeps those things in line so that we can have shared experiences. And if you remember the picture of the soul I shared the past two sessions, your soul is an orb of energy in appearance, and your reality is a little crystalline, slowed down and focused area within the center of the soul, a crystallization, in other words, of the consciousness of the soul, which is itself a fractal aspect of an oversoul, which is a collective of souls. And then there's multiple layers between oversouls to all that is. So there's many levels to existence outside of our reality. That's part of why I started with Socrates saying, I know nothing, is that your existence is small within our universe itself, which itself is small and, in a sense, holographic and illusory. And that is small within the reality of the souls, that is small within the reality of the oversouls, and so on, until you reach all that is. So there's infinite universes, infinite parallel universes for each of those universes. There's infinite realms and dimensions. So that's why saying I know nothing is one of the smartest things you can say, because your existence is so small. But at the same time, that doesn't mean you're meaningless. You are an essential part of all that is. Without you, all that is wouldn't be all that is, right? It'd be all that is minus you, which is not all that is. Next, I'll introduce vibration and frequency. Everything has a core frequency and conditional frequencies. So your soul has a core frequency that never really changes, except as it grows. When we connect higher to our true selves, you'll start to feel energies, and other beings use energy and reading that energy to know the states of other things. We don't just connect with others through words, but through resonance. So when telepathic, when you don't use words, things start to not use names because they recognize each other through the signature frequency of the other rather than any associated name. Your frequency determines your reality. By raising your frequency, you automatically harmonize with higher expressions of existence. So that means that people, places, and experience will start to change to reflect your higher frequency. And this is why beliefs are so important because they play into your frequency, because your frequency can kind of describe all that you are. And one of the deciding factors of how your reality expresses itself is through those beliefs that you carry. So if you have negative and limiting beliefs, that's what you're going to be experiencing in reality. Next concept is unconditional love. The frequency of existence itself is translated as unconditional love in our experience. So the more you connect to all that is, the more unconditional love you'll feel just flowing through you at all times. The unconditional love of Source allows for any actions of the parts within it. So that includes negative actions such as, theft, murder, etc.
9:05 a.m.
This is because you are unconditionally loved. You can make any sort of those actions, even if harmful. If you weren't allowed to do those things, then it wouldn't be unconditional love. That would be conditional love. And that's why negative aspects are allowed in the universe, in our experience. One important thing to note is that things are in balance, and the nature of negative energy, not talking judgmental here, like not a value judgment of negativity, but more of the mechanical aspect of negativity being separative, discoherent, and positive energy being coherent and unifying means that negativity tends to break up and not spread as easily as positivity. Positivity brings things together and allows for unity. So overall, the balance of the universe is slightly positive. It's like a 49.9% negative and 50.1% positive, and there's a neutral in between. So part of unconditional love is that Source, all that is, unconditionally supports your will, even if it's toward the negative. So if you're focused on negativity and limiting beliefs, even if they don't serve you, Source will be like, okay, I'll help you in that manifestation, that reality. And this reminds us that sovereignty is yours. You have your free will. Next, we want to try to keep non-dogmatic perspectives of all that is. Because when we explore all it is from a non-dogmatic viewpoint, it allows for a more flexible understanding of spirituality. This perspective embraces diversity in beliefs and encourages personal exploration rather than rigid structures. I mentioned in session 1 that spirituality can coexist with religions, but religions may inhibit spirituality if the focus is not on love, personal sovereignty, light, etc. So that means if the religion is expressing negative fear-based beliefs, such as do this or you go to hell, etc., those can keep you from reaching your spiritual highest. This is why we can have spiritual, enlightened, and ascended masters from many different practices and belief systems because the underlying spiritual nature permeates humanity and existence and is not associated with the religions themselves. In a sense, every religious belief system is true and valid, as we can't imagine non-existence, so everything we can imagine exists somewhere in some form. The question that's important is, does it serve you to hold those beliefs? Remember, permission slips, a religion is a permission slip, and permission slips only work, or they only are permission slips if they allow you to connect more to who you truly are. We create our reality, and what we experience is within our reality. Our reality is within our soul, souls are within a higher reality, etc. So that means worship and prayer are permission slips to allow you to be more of yourself, a fractal of source, in feeling connected to a higher power. But that higher power feeling, that knowing, can be obtained from within. You don't need permission to connect to all that is. You are all that is, right? One is all is one. So all that is goes by many names. It does not itself care how it is addressed. In a sense, it does not have a will of its own. This is a logical derivative of omniscience and omnipresence that I'll explain in the next slide. I was discussing how all that is does not care how it is addressed. In a sense, it does not have a will of its own. This is a logical derivative of omniscience and omnipresence. And you, as parts of Source, have Source experiencing through you. So there is no separate will to have. You are what Source wants to experience to know more of itself. The different gods of religions will translate to different aspects of all that is, or other experiences that were misattributed to gods through the understanding at the time. This concept is a bit in depth and not supported by our current understanding of history, but I'll be going into that maybe in the intermediate to advanced sessions. This is just the awakening session, so it's not too important right now. Some names for all that is through spirituality and religion are source, spirit, universe, God, Allah, Yahweh, creation, etc. Just remember that depending on the religion or practice, that some of these don't fully encompass what it all that is means, what all that is truly, and may give a personification of all that is not quite accurate on the higher planes level. But the attribution to everything to God is translated properly to all that is. So prayers and worship all reach the intended goal, if you want to see it that way. So even the multi-god practices, remember, they are all true and valid as we can't imagine non-existence. So there's an aspect of all that is where those are played out and have their own consciousness and will respond to your will in receiving help, receiving what you need as aspects of all that is.
3:15 a.m.
Next, I'll fully explain the omnis, which are omnipresence, omnipotence, omniscience. And the understanding of these typically expressed as characteristics of God in the monotheistic religions, as all that is being the original understanding that was lost through misunderstanding, misrepresentation, mistranslation, etc. So omnipresence, all that is what makes up existence. There can be nowhere that all that is isn't because it is existence itself. Therefore, it is everywhere, i.e., omnipresent. Everything is all that is. The consciousness fields. Next is omnipotence. In creating everything, all that is has the ultimate power. Omniscience. Everything is a part of all that is. So there is nothing that it doesn't experience or know. It's experiencing through everything that it's created because it is all that is. And when this is internalized, you'll be able to treat others as extensions of yourself with compassion. You'll be able to see others as fellow souls working towards their expansion by imposing limitations on themselves in 3D reality. In a sense, we are at one of the most levels in experience separation from all that is. And basically, everybody down here are super troopers, graduating classes of experience. We're the bravest of the brave coming down here to experience such separation because at the soul level, we're bathed in unconditional love of unimaginable proportions of when we see vibrational charts of the emotions, we see that the highest are enlightenment, even above authenticity and love. That's because that feeling is a reconnection to your soul and its experience being in bliss. And those in that level of existence can't even imagine what it's like to not be that separated from all that is, which is why, in a sense, that they choose to come down here for growth because it's hard to experience challenge when you're in such a state. When you internalize your connection, you see synchronicities not as coincidence, but as communication. Remember, I've said there's no such thing as coincidence. Everything here is an orchestration. So when things line up, that's signs from your guides, your higher self, all that is that you're on the right path, or even negative synchronicity saying, providing roadblocks to you that say, at least for now, this isn't the right path. When you come up against something you just can't get through, that's not ego related. You'll recognize that all that you do ripples out to affect everything else because we're all in the same field of consciousness, and Not only does it go out to affect everything else, if you remember, everything is here and now in a singular point from the highest perspective. The one is all is one. What you do immediately affects everything, right? Because there is no anything else. Self-love and compassion will become naturally abundant, and you'll find yourself in love with everything, just in bliss with feeling that interconnectedness. You'll never feel alone. You'll be in touch with your true self, etc. There's a useful metaphor for connection, which is using the ocean. You can practice this in meditation or visualization and use the waves of the ocean to help illustrate the concept of interconnectedness. Think of yourself as a particle in the waves. Just like the waves are all part of the same ocean, we too are individual expressions of the same universal source. You impact the collective at levels that you don't even know. Your decisions reach beyond yourself, influencing the environment and the relations you cultivate. Acknowledging your interconnectedness fosters a sense of community. Remember, action is the language of 3D existence. So moving towards the future self, the future versions of existence that you would like to see actually redirects your manifestation toward that, and your timeline reality shift towards those realities that reflect those changes and those actions that you've taken. So if you want to see a greener earth, start with planting a tree. Permission slip is mirror work for this week. Mirror work encourages self-compassion and acceptance by viewing others as reflections of ourselves. Remember, we create our reality, which means that everything we see in our reality is our version of it. The others that exist in their own right as their own souls, as their own collective aspects of all that is. But we share a in-between reality to create that collective understanding and ability to experience in the 3D. And this practice promotes deeper understanding and connection to those around us. So important things to get out of mirror work is to understand that whatever we judge in others, we judge in ourselves. So if you're judging someone else for not being smart, look at yourself. Do you judge yourself as not being smart? If you judge someone for not being in control of their emotions, do you judge yourself for not being in control of your emotions? What others do that triggers us reveals a part of us to investigate, right? So that person eating with their mouth open, why does that trigger you? Is it your programming? Are you being your true self when you're triggered by things that other people do? I'm not sure if I've shared this concept here yet, but an important part of your self-development is to realize that the circumstances you're in don't matter. Your state of being matters, right? You can maintain a positive state of being regardless of what's going on around you. So when something triggers you, that's your choice to be triggered. That's your choice to react to that. And remember that it's your choice to hold the beliefs that feel slighted, that create that triggered sensation in your emotions and make you react. So it's your choice to hold on to those beliefs and change them if they aren't serving you. And a positive way to use mirror work is to use how you treat someone you're compassionate towards as how you could be treating yourself. One example is, would you berate a child for making a mistake? No, because they are still learning. But we are all learning all the time, always. Learning will never stop, growth will never stop, expansion will never stop, growth never ends. So have the same grace and patience with yourself that you would give a child. Right? Don't beat yourself up for making a mistake. I mean, take what you can from it, learn any lessons, and the next time try to make the change that shows to the universe that you've learned it. And your integration invitation this week is to see if you can begin integrating insights gained from your self-reflections. This helps you to align your actions with a deeper understanding of interconnectedness and paves the way for a more harmonious existence. And think about what it means to understand that everybody is a reflection of yourself and all that is. One of the key insights to ponder, do a meditation over is there are no enemies because separation is an illusion. So where can we start recognizing prejudices born from conditioning? So political parties, artificial borders, etc. Right. Why or when have you noticed you're judging someone because they belong to the quote unquote oppositional party? Right. And you automatically put labels on them such as, well, maybe they're dumb, maybe they're ignorant, maybe blah, 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 blah. But remember, any judgment you make about others shows something about yourself. So there should be no judgment of others. You have no business judging others. You don't know their paths. You don't know what they have gone through, what they are going through. And then remember that they are also you, and you are also them. And we all one big happy family. All right. Any questions for today? All right, if there are no questions, thank you all for joining. I'll go ahead and start the in closing meditation shortly. Today's meditation screen includes yin and yang, which represents interconnectedness. So if you focus on the symbol specifically and use it as interconnectedness, you can view it as the one within the all and the all within the one, the positive within the negative within the positive, etc. Sort of allow it to express itself as a symbol of the interconnectedness. Okay, so we'll go ahead and start the closing meditation. Try to remember the state we achieved earlier today and grounding. Make sure you're comfortable. You can close your eyes softly or focus on the symbol on the screen. Go ahead and take a deep breath in and a slow breath out. Let go of any efforts, let go of any trying. This is your time to simply be. Let your body soften, let your breath slow. Feel the places where your body touches the surface beneath you. Let your awareness drop fully into this moment. No past, literally. No future, literally. Just this moment. This breath. This heartbeat. And this stillness. Go ahead and silently affirm to yourself that you are here. This moment is enough. I am enough. Allow the here to become your sanctuary, your temple of peace. Now imagine your breath as a gentle stream of light. With each exhale, it reaches outward, softly connecting to everything around you. The floor, the room, the people near and far. Beyond even the walls, you touch the trees, the oceans, the rivers, the stars, and the galaxies. All of this universe in this reality. Even past the walls of our universe into the higher dimensions holding the souls. The higher dimensions holding the souls. All the way up to source, all that is. You are not a separate drop in the ocean. You are the ocean in a drop. Feel this connection not as a thought, but as a truth within your being. Let your heart expand into this invisible web of unity. Let it hold you and let it remind you, I am part of everything. Everything is a part of me. Go ahead and gently place your attention in the space, either behind your heart or the heart itself, center of your chest. You may visualize it as a white orb. Here lies a still point, a spark, the doorway to the eternal. This is where your connection to your higher self and source lives in you, not above you, not beyond you, but as you. Go ahead and inhale into the space. Feel the pulse of all that is. Feel it as love. Feel it as light. Feel it as calm knowing. Go ahead and silently repeat to yourself, I am a thread in the divine tapestry. I am always connected. I return home in every breath. Let's go ahead and stay here for a while, resting in the arms of the infinite. Go ahead and continue breathing into the heart space. Some of you may want to imagine giving this connection a hug, holding it tight. Let the emotions and the feelings swell within you. If you manage to feel this connection and notice the quiet separation of your ego mind, and you witnessed your true self that is witness to the ego mind, feeling the connection of your higher self in your heart space. This is what it means to have awakened to your inner self, and true self. This is where the inner guidance originates, and allowing this to lead the way leads to true freedom. Remember, freedom is not the ability to do what you want, when you want, wherever you want. It's more of the freedom to do those things without the ego minds, the ego structures, false structures weighing on you. Let's take a few more deep, quiet breaths into the heart space, into the orb of light that is your connection to your higher self, your soul, all that is. Now, if you're ready, begin to draw your awareness back to your body. Feel your breath, your heartbeat, your presence. And then gently open your eyes when you're ready. And feel free to carry this feeling of presence, of connection, of source with you throughout the rest of your day. It is always here. You are always here. Thank you all for joining today. Have a good day. Love you all.
Thanks, Justin. You too.